Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Over Easy, episode 5. My name is Manny, in case you are new here, or welcome back. It's episode 5. Oh my gosh, we're officially over a month in, and it's crazy. I hope you are all doing well. I hope you have had a great week. I personally have been thriving recently, to be honest, I think, but I'll get a little more into that. Today's episode is going to be a little different, actually. I think I'm going back to my roots of before I started my podcast and kind of going more with a let's chat theme. I don't have a script for today's episode. Most of the time, I at least plan out the outline and the points that I want to bring up in all of my episodes, but today I was thinking, well, first of all, I was supposed to film another episode this week. My boyfriend's going to come on the podcast eventually, but we were supposed to film that this week, but we just ended up, our schedules didn't really line up. So I've been meaning to do a little update let's chat video, and here it is. I'm just going to be talking about what's been going on in my life because I feel like a lot has changed recently. This is what I've been thinking about, right? Because I haven't been vlogging, I am not able to update about my life as frequently. And I feel like a lot has changed. It's been, a solid month. I haven't been vlogging and I've been doing a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of things I want to cover today. But before we get into the bulk of the episode, as always, we're going to start with a rose, a bud, and a thorn. So in case you're new, a rose is something that is good that has happened this week. A bud is something that I'm looking forward to. And a thorn is something that's not as good that has happened this week. Let's start with my rose. My rose is that I got my second dose of the COVID vaccine. I went in through walk-in with my boyfriend on Saturday and got my second dose. Luckily, it wasn't too long of a wait. I think we showed up 20 minutes before the clinic opened, and holy crap, the line was so long already. Like, there were 2 lines, one for appointments and one for walk-ins. The appointment line was so long. There was 20 people, I think, when we got there. And then the walk-in line had around 5 or 6 groups before us. And then, we waited for about, I would say 40, 50 minutes, almost an hour. And then we were let in, got the vaccine and stuff like that. So all in all, we were done in just over an hour, which isn't too long if you think about it. But I'm just really happy that I got my COVID vaccine because it gives me a little more peace of mind, obviously, and also just makes me feel good that I am helping humanity, getting vaccinated, helping stop the spread of COVID. Very happy about that. But leads into my thorn. If you haven't heard, the second dose, I guess, for a lot of people has a lot more side effects and is just a lot more dramatic, I guess. So with the first dose of my vaccine, I really didn't have any side effects except for the day of, my arm was sore and then I got really sleepy. So I just took a few extra naps over the weekend that I got my first dose, but my second dose was a different story. So the first day that I got it on Saturday, I honestly did not feel anything. Even my arm didn't feel sore the first day. It was a little sore, but not super sore. I didn't feel anything. I felt great. I was like, oh my God, second dose. Thank God we got it through. No side effects. Feeling good. But then on Sunday morning, so this is going to get a little TMI, but my period and my COVID vaccine were on the same day. I coincidentally got my period on Saturday as well. And for me, not the first day, but the second day is when it gets really, really bad, is when I get most of my side effects from my period. And somehow the second day on Sunday, yesterday, the main side effects of the COVID vaccine also hit me. So it was really not good. From my vaccine, I got chills. I felt like I had a fever. I don't know. I felt like I was just sweating and cold the entire morning. And then I was also really, really nauseous. So I felt like I wanted to throw up. But this was as soon as I woke up. So because I haven't eaten breakfast yet, I couldn't throw up. There was nothing to throw up, but I just felt like I needed to the whole morning. And then because of my period, I was having the worst abdominal cramps of my entire life. It was really, really bad. And honestly, those two things combined together made it the worst morning of my life. I was trying to eat breakfast, but I honestly just couldn't, and I had to go back to bed. Thankfully, I took a Tylenol and then passed out for another hour and a half, and then when I woke up, I was pretty much almost fine. I had a small headache yesterday, but a lot better than what happened when I first woke up yesterday. Not a good time, really not a good time, but I am really lucky that it only lasted for a couple hours. I know a lot of people, their second dose gave them side effects for an entire day or more than that. So I feel really grateful that the Tylenol saved me, honestly, because I would have had a terrible day yesterday. That's my thorn for the week. Side effects of the COVID vaccine, obviously. And then my bud for this week is this weekend is the BC Day Long weekend. I guess you're hearing this episode when it is the BC Day Long weekend, but I'm going on a trip with my boyfriend to Victoria, like Vancouver Island, and I am so super excited. I'm so excited. First of all, it's like the first trip that we've gone on since COVID happened, and then also I've actually never really been to Victoria or the island much in general. I think I haven't taken a ferry in 5 years or so, so it's going to be really exciting. I'm just looking forward to like every part of the trip, like the ferry ride, getting food on the ferry, just getting there, and then like exploring Victoria. We're going to go to downtown Victoria where the Parliament buildings are and stuff like that. And I'm just so excited for every single part of the trip. I'm so excited. That's the only thing that's getting me through the week, guys. Okay. But yeah. Okay. But those are my check-ins for this week. It took a lot longer than I thought it would because I've been having a really good week, to be honest. And yeah, let's get into our little Let's Chat. So in case you are new and only joined me through my podcast, I used to have a series on my YouTube channel called Let's Chat, where I would basically just start recording and talk about whatever I thought about. That was kind of the inspiration behind the podcast, where I really enjoyed talking about certain topics and just talking about my life in general. But I ultimately ended up stopping that series because I have my podcast now, and also I didn't really like the way that it was not structured, the Let's Chat series, but sometimes you just need that chaos, you know? That's what this episode is, just chaos, talking about everything that has been going on the last few weeks. So let's start with actually talking about the podcast, because obviously that's the most timely thing that's been going on right now. So this is episode 5. Officially, I've been doing this for over a month. I started at the beginning of July, and it has been insane. Let's talk about a couple things. First of all, I would say, in my personal opinion, the podcast has been probably one of the best things that I've ever done. I've always enjoyed making content and making YouTube videos, but through the pandemic, I've been kind of getting sick of it just because I felt really pressured to make content when I really didn't want to, and I felt like my content wasn't as helpful as it could have been. I always try to make it a goal that my content will help someone or just make someone happy in general, and I feel like my quarantine content was just not good because I myself didn't really even enjoy making that content. So how can I expect someone else to like it? You know, I wasn't really putting my full effort into it and putting my heart and soul into the content like I usually would. So it was just really draining in general. And I'm really happy that I kind of switched my content to start a podcast, because I feel like in my lifestyle now, it's a lot more fitting and makes me a lot more happy, I guess. I've been really fulfilled with how this podcast is going. I think I have found like what I'm pretty good at, I would say. I have always been told that I have a good speaking voice, I guess, and I'm putting it to use. This isn't what I sound like when I talk one-on-one with someone, though. My boyfriend seldomly listens. He doesn't really watch my content or anything like that, but he tells me that I sound completely different when I am talking to someone just like normally, you know, in a conversation. So that kind of makes me self-conscious, but I also understand, because I know that when I'm recording, obviously there's going to be a lot of people that are listening, not even a lot, but just people that are listening, and people that I might not know, people that I do know maybe. So it does put me on my best behavior for sure. I was looking at the analytics of my podcast, just like kind of playing around with it, looking at how it works and stuff like that. And I was actually really surprised that people are even listening. If you don't know how podcasts work, there is one basically main hosting site that you host your podcast on, and then from there you can spread it out to Spotify, Apple Podcasts and stuff like that. But to upload your podcasts and do everything like setting it up and all that, you have one main hub, which is the host of the podcast. And I was looking on my host site and looking at the analytics, and I was really surprised that people are actually listening. It really makes me happy because I don't know, for my content, I've never really made it a goal to like, get more viewers, get more subscribers and stuff like that. But it is really rewarding when your efforts are paying off, obviously, and people enjoy your content, and you can see that through the numbers and the analytics. So thank you for listening. I really, really appreciate it. I guess that also kind of just gives me another fuel to keep going, because I'm like, people are actually listening. Like, people actually want to hear what I have to say about different things. And, I've gotten messages from people who listen to my podcast on their way to work, which like honestly makes my heart melt, because when I started my podcast, I wasn't really doing it for other people. And I think this is what has made me so happy recently, is that this podcast was truly something that I wanted to do, and it was just my own personal project. I wasn't doing it for the sake of other people, and that's what made it more fulfilling, I think. I didn't feel like I had the pressure of trying to get a lot of views or listens in a podcast's sense, and it just really makes me happy, I guess. I feel like this is what I want to strive for with my side projects. I've always kind of been pressured when I was making YouTube videos to get a certain number of views. I would constantly compare myself to other YouTubers at UBC or other YouTubers just in general, YouTubers who might be growing faster than me and all this kind of stuff. It was just a lot of, I guess, toxicity. And honestly, when I started making content, it was really just for a hobby and for fun. And that's kind of, this podcast has reminded me that it is really for fun. And so yeah, this podcast has really just made me happy in general, and just I love it so much. So I really hope that more people can enjoy, and if you already listen, like that you enjoy, because it really does make my day that I can at least help someone. But let's get into some other stuff that I've been getting into this month. One of the main updates that I wanted to talk about is school, because there's only about 1 month of summer left, which is actually insane. The summer has gone by so fast. I remember in April when I finished my exams, I was like, oh my God, 4 months of summer, May, June, July, August. Like, this is going to be so great, and I'm going to have so much fun, and it's going to be such a great long summer. But now it is the end of July already, and there's only 1 more month until school. I'm so excited. I've always been a person that's been excited for school, because I'm a nerd and I love to be a teacher's pet, as we all know from my experiences in high school. But I am truly just so excited. I am going into my 4th and final year of university, but it is probably not my last year of school, which let's talk about that. So I am majoring in psychology and minoring in commerce. I have a couple videos on my YouTube channel from last year or 2 years ago where I talk about like the reasons why I chose my major and stuff like that. I'm really happy that I chose my major and that it is the way that it is, because I have really enjoyed my degree, and now that I'm finishing it up, it is just been I really enjoy learning again, and I think that's the most important part of university, because I guess in high school, you're kind of forced to try out everything. You have to take a science, math, English, socials, whatever else they do in high school. But in university, you can really cater your learning to whatever you're interested in. So let's go over the courses that I'm taking in September, because I'm so freaking excited for that. This year, I only have to take 8 more courses to graduate. So I'm taking 4 in the first semester and 4 in the second semester. So that should be pretty manageable. I've done 5 and 5 before in second year, and that was pretty good with like my job and everything, like manageable, and I really enjoyed that. So I think 4 and 4 will give me enough free time to do other things, and I'm also just like working more jobs in September compared to before. So I think I'll have enough time. I hope. I really want to prioritize this podcast and also work, because those are 2 things that I really do enjoy a lot. But sorry, getting sidetracked. Let's get into my courses for September. So in September, I am taking 4 courses. So I am, okay, wait, let me pull up my calendar because I actually don't really remember. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm taking 1 psych, 1 commerce, and 2 electives in first semester. My psych, I think, is 315, which is adolescence development. I forget what the course name is. It's Psych 315 if you go to UBC, and it's not the infant one because I've taken that course already, but it's like the childhood and adolescence development course for psych. That one I'm taking asynchronously, so it should be not a big deal, and I'm actually really excited to take that course. I've been wanting to take it. It was kind of complicated with my degree because I thought that I had to take 2 more sciencey psych courses this year, so more of the behavioral neuroscience, cognitive neuroscience courses, but I don't. I figured that out, so I can take 2 psych courses that I just enjoy. So childhood and adolescence development is the first one that I'm taking. My commerce course that I'm taking is, what is this? It's 473. Let's check what that is real quick because I don't even know. The commerce courses, I don't really have a choice in what I take. I have to take all of them to graduate. So let's see what 73 is. 473. Commerce 473 is business finance. So I'm expecting that that's going to be a lot of math and stuff like that. This year I'm taking a lot of, I guess, not in class classes. I've always been a fan of that, and I think online learning definitely showed through that I can manage classes on my own. So 315, my psych course, I'm taking asynchronously, so you kind of have to do that in your own time. Commerce 473 is a flexible learning class, which means it only happens a couple times during the semester, most often 1 time a month. You actually go to class and it's for 3 hours, and then the other classes, or I guess the other class times in the semester, you just do all the stuff on your own. So you don't actually have to do the course stuff during the course time if you don't have class. You can do it asynchronously as well. I found that through online learning, I'm just pretty good at doing asynchronous courses. It obviously takes a certain type of person, and I am the type A, very organized, paranoid person that I guess is constantly, I'm pretty good at keeping up with my tasks and my homework and stuff like that. So I think these flexible type classes are really good for me because they offer a more flexible schedule. And that's honestly more important than going to class, in my opinion. So those are my 2 required courses. And then my electives next semester. The first one is Urban Studies 200. This has been a course that I've been wanting to take since first year, and I just never really had the time or wanted to look into taking it, but somehow this semester it worked out with my schedule, and I'm taking Urban Studies 200. I am so excited. It is basically about cities and their development. My university counselor in grade 12 told me about an urban studies course that she took, and she said it was like one of the best courses ever because it was just so different. It's not really something you're able to learn in high school, so in university is really the first opportunity that you can kind of study this kind of stuff. It's very different, right? It's not in the high school curriculum, and because my degree isn't really about geography or urban studies, I haven't been able to take it either. But yeah, this isn't a course I've been looking forward to for my entire degree, and I'm so excited I can finally take it next semester. That one is a hybrid course, so what I believe is happening is it happens in person, so you can go in person for sure, but there's also, I guess, going to be a Zoom version, so while the prof is lecturing, he's also going to be on Zoom, so you can join in online if you want. So I'm definitely thinking that, like, if I don't want to go to campus one day, I'll just go on the hybrid version and just like pop in online. But that's a really great option. I feel like after COVID, everything school related has become so much more accessible, which is really great because I've always thought that, university is for the privileged, and it is really hard to get to university, like to get in general, and then to have to pay and all this stuff. So the fact that university is getting more accessible, people can access it from their home countries if they're not in Vancouver, or if they're sick, like they don't have to feel pressured to have to go to campus that day, right? Like it's just becoming so much more accessible, which I'm really, really happy about. And then my last course for the semester is Family Studies 210, which is, I believe it is called, let me take a look real quick. It's called Family Context of Human Development. And this has been another course that I've been looking to take. I wasn't like wanting to take it super bad just because I am in a psych degree and it's kind of related in my opinion, but it is something that I was interested in taking for my entire degree, and I get to take it. Just worked out with my schedule, and I'm really excited because I think one of my most passionate things that I think about all the time, I guess, is how people develop into the way that they are. And obviously family plays a huge role in that because you are with your family. Most people are with their family for the first 18 years of their life. When working with the kids that I'm teaching at math, I mean, I am constantly thinking about, how did you get to the way that you are? And interacting with parents and stuff like that is just very interesting. So I think this course will be very interesting and eye-opening, I guess. I've always had this philosophy that with my electives, I honestly just want to take things that I'm interested in and not just for the sake of my GPA. Because honestly, when you take things that you're genuinely interested in, then you'll have more motivation and just more interest in studying the material and actually getting to know the concepts. And then you honestly probably do better, in my opinion. Like, that has always been the case in my electives. Last year I took comp sci just for fun because I was interested, and that was like one of my best grades in my entire degree just because I thought it was so interesting and different and was genuinely interested in being able to solve the problems with my coding. So anyways, those are the courses that I'm taking. I'm so excited to take them and just go to school in general. We are supposed to go back in person fully, but obviously I'm taking a few different courses so I don't have to be on campus 24/7 with COVID in mind. And also because I'm in fourth year, I want to start doing my own thing and prioritizing work and stuff like that. So I kind of cleared up my schedule and I don't have to be on campus 24/7 like I have been before. That is my schedule for the first semester, and I'm so I can't even explain how excited I am for school. And also looking forward to school. I've been getting more into, I want to make vlogs again. Obviously, back to school is a very exciting time. I mean, I want to do my getting ready for school video and doing like the first week of school vlogs and all this stuff. So I definitely think I'm going to be vlogging again in the school semester, but I feel like I'm not going to put as much pressure on myself to have to make content because I have my podcast now. My podcast, I think, is going to be my main form of content still in the school semester, but if there's an exciting week or a week that I think would be fun to vlog, maybe I'm less busy that week, then heck yeah, I'm gonna vlog. I think COVID has just got me to realize that my time at university is coming to an end and I need to take advantage of all the different resources that I have on campus. So catch me doing everything on campus in my fourth year, just everything. I'm going to take advantage of everything and join every single club, go to every single event possible, and doing every single thing ever. One of the other main things that I've been doing this past month or so, maybe the last 2 weeks, is looking into what I'm doing after my degree, because obviously that is coming soon, and as much as I don't want to think about it, it is something that you have to think about eventually. And for once in my life, I feel like I have a plan. It's so different than when you're graduating high school, because when you're graduating high school, you think you don't have a plan, but you really do have a plan, right? Your next 4 years are secured by going to university. It just depends on where you want to go and where you end up getting into and stuff like that. But when you graduate university, you can literally do anything you want. Think about it. Anything. And that has been toying in my mind for the longest time. I have always thought that I want to go to grad school just because I feel like while I do love my psych degree and my commerce minor, it's not pinpointing exactly what I want to study, I guess. I do really love psych, and I think that part of my degree, or at least my major, is something that I love and I don't regret at all, because it is probably the closest thing that I could have gotten to what I want to study, but I always knew that the more specific thing that I wanted to study is how people develop and how people end up the way that they are, and more specifically in a school context. Because I've been teaching kids pretty much my entire life. I've always worked with kids in some way or another. I've always been interested in how they learn, how different factors of their life affect the way that they learn, and why that is the way the way it is. I can't talk. And I've been looking into master's degrees that have been kind of more focused on that, like kind of really fine-tuning the stuff that you study. And I guess the plan that I have right now is that I want to go into school counseling, which is basically being a counselor at a school. And let me talk about how I kind of ended up on this decision. I've been teaching kids, as I said earlier, pretty much my entire life. I did like summer camps at schools, and then I did, teaching math for the last 3 years pretty much. I did my behavior interventionist job. Like, I've been always working with kids and teaching them in some facet or another, leading them, doing something with them. And as I've been reflecting on my experiences, I don't think the teaching part is the part that got me to stay. I do love teaching. I love helping kids learn and stuff like that. But more importantly, I think the most fulfilling part for me is thinking about how they develop and different ways to teach different learners and how these learners got to be the way they are, which is pretty much like development, how early years are really important to a kid's development, and just the different things that can affect it. As I think about my math job, because that's been the most consistent thing in my life, nowadays the most fulfilling part of that job for me is not just teaching, but also getting to know the kids and getting to know about their family life and their out of school life, what else they do outside of school, if they dance, if they do piano, I don't know, those kinds of things, and how that affects them and the way that their confidence develops, the way that their self-esteem develops, and just like those issues in general. I think a large part of it also is coming from my own personal experience. I never had an adult figure that I could rely on. I mean, I had to kind of watch my parents divorce and go through all of these not so great events in my life without really being able to unfold and reflect on them until a much later age when I started therapy. So to be a figure like that for a kid that might be going through a traumatic event, like their parents divorcing or going through like watching domestic abuse in their family or something like that, I think is really important. And not even when you go through a traumatic event, I also think like kids deserve to have a place where they can be themselves and reflect and just think about who they are as a person without pressure from their parents, without pressure from teachers at school to think that they have to perform a certain way. So I really do think that school counseling is the direction that I want to go into right now because of just the flexibility of the job and also just the things that you do in that job, obviously. Another thing that I was toying with for the longest time was being a teacher, right? Because I loved working with kids so much. I've always thought about being a teacher. And for the longest time, I really thought I was going to be a teacher. I thought I was going to, for the longest time, actually, I wanted to open my own daycare or preschool or something like that. So I thought I'd be teaching these young people and teaching these young minds. But when I thought about it, and this is something that they don't really talk about in high school, I guess, is that when it comes to a job, there are a lot more things that are important other than the actual tasks of the job itself. Of course, it seems like a great idea to be a teacher, and that was something that I really enjoyed, but I met up with one of my high school teachers recently, and we were just talking over some snacks and talking about different things about his life. He was a teacher and then he retired. And as I was listening to his story, I was kind of thinking about, I don't really think the lifestyle of a teacher is what I want in my life. And that's a really hard conclusion to come upon because obviously I've never even worked a 9 to 5, so I can't say that I won't enjoy a full-time job. I've also never been a full-time teacher, but I think when I imagine my future, I want a career that is flexible hours and just not so rigid in the same structure, I guess you can say. I think a lot of teachers start teaching the same subjects year after year, and it just seems like a very repetitive, and I don't want to say boring because it's not mean. I mean, it's not boring, but it's like, you know what I mean? And I think being a counselor, you have a little more flexibility with your schedule and also the types of students that you are seeing and just dealing with on a day-to-day basis is definitely very different. So that was one of the big reasons why I ultimately kind of crossed off teacher as one of my career paths. It's also just like in general, if I do want to stay in BC in the future, and being a teacher in BC is just like not the best pay and probably not the best environment based on the amount of teacher strikes that we have had in our like public school system. These are all really important factors of a job that I guess people don't really talk about. They're always like, oh, just choose like what's your favorite thing to do? Like what task do you think you could see yourself doing, right? Like if you can see yourself teaching, then be a teacher. But there are so many other factors, like where do you want to live? What structure and flexibility do you want to have in your life in the future? What's your pay? Like, where do you want to be located? These are all like super important things that can deter you from your dream job, because if those kind of external factors are really bad, then who is going to take a teaching job, you know? But yeah, that's kind of the path that I'm going into, I think. But obviously, I've had to look into basically school counseling, master's programs. I have decided that I don't want to stay in Vancouver for my program and I want to go somewhere else. So I actually think one of the main areas that I'm interested in is going to Seattle, because it is close enough to Vancouver that I can visit often, but not in Vancouver, obviously. So that's one of the main areas, but I have been looking at a bunch of other master's programs, some on the East Coast and then some in California and stuff like that. And dude, applying for master's programs, or I guess just like this whole school looking process in general, is so hard, because I didn't realize how much guidance I was given in grade 12. Because in grade 12, we had those university counselors at our school, and they would help you, try and figure out what you want to do, give you tips on the applications. They've been doing it for like 20 years, so they know. Some of them know the like university admissions offices at the different schools, and they also just know like different details about the applications that as a student I never would have figured out in grade 12. But when you're in university applying for a master's program, you're kind of on your own because everyone's path is so different. I don't really know any school counselors. I don't know any in general, pretty much, I think, or anyone that has gone down that path. So I've been kind of relying on YouTube and just the internet, because that's pretty much the closest thing that I can get to a person that has done school counseling. But I don't think that I will be going to grad school right after I graduate, just because I don't really want to have to deal with all the application stuff in my fourth year. I want to ideally take a year off of school and have that year be my gap year dealing with my applications and all that, and also just like living life. It's kind of crazy to think about the fact that as soon as you start school at age 5 or 6, you're stuck in school until now. I'm 21 and I've still been in school. So I think it'd be really beneficial for me to just take a year off school, figure out my life, and live life as a normal person in society, not a student anymore. It's definitely scary when you are starting to lose that label of a student, because that has been something that's been in my identity for so long. I feel like when I graduate, I will definitely have a identity crisis about that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to moving forward with my life, because I've been a student for so long and I'm kind of sick of it, to be honest. But yeah, if you're going into university, I get a lot of DMs and stuff like that from people who are going into first year, or I know a lot of just people in general going to university. I feel like it's a really exciting time to go to university, but people don't excite or hype the fact of going into real adulthood enough. Yeah, not sure why, but I am here to advocate for adulthood. It is going to be exciting, and although it's scary, it is fulfilling, and it will be a great time. And also, it's like the last 40, 50, 60 years of your life. You get to do whatever you want with your life, which is so exciting. Anyways, that's kind of my grad school spiel. I really only figured this out the last 2 weeks of my life through enough time to reflect about what I want in my life and also what I think is fulfilling. And that has always been my philosophy. Always do things that are the most fulfilling to you. I hope you can't hear my brother playing piano. I'm kind of getting distracted by it. Honestly, I don't have much else to update you guys on. That's kind of been the bulk of my life recently, is thinking about my future and trying to plan for it. Obviously, you can't plan to a T, but having a general plan is a good idea and makes me a lot less anxious. Oh my gosh, this year has been crazy. I have been getting a lot more anxious just because I don't know why. I've always been a person that gets anxious if you spring up last minute plans on me. It's really just bad in general before the pandemic even started. But starting from COVID, if you tell me something that occurs last minute, I genuinely will be anxious and get like panicky. I start breathing really shallow and just not thinking straight. So it's been an interesting thing to try and accommodate just because life is that way. Life pops up things all the time. And yeah, it's a little tricky, but we'll delve deeper into that in another episode. Mental health is something I still want to cover on this podcast, but yeah. Oh my gosh, I've been talking for 40 minutes. That's crazy. Anyways, I hope you are all doing well. I hope you have a great end to the summer if you are a student, and I hope you have a great August if you are not a student and just a person in general. I will catch you in the next episode. I hope you enjoy. Oh, one thing I wanted to say is it would really mean a lot to me if you left a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify podcasts of my podcast. Let me know what you think. I always appreciate constructive criticism and feedback if you've been enjoying, or the comments on YouTube. Just let me know how you've been vibing with this podcast. If it's something you do vibe with, or if not, just let me know, because I always want to know, right? Like, I do things because I want to on this podcast. Obviously, all the topics are things that I think are interesting. But if you think there's something interesting that I haven't even thought of or thought to cover yet, let me know. If you want me to cover different topics, those are always things that I am open to, of course. So yeah, it would mean a lot to me if you left a review, if you followed the podcast Instagram and all that stuff. I always feel really bad like plugging my own things just because it feels kind of like self-centered and shallow, but ultimately I guess everyone does that. I don't know why everyone plugs themselves, so I feel like I shouldn't feel bad, but it always just does seem like very, now I want you to follow me. You know what I mean? So you don't have to follow, you don't have to rate if you don't want to. You can just listen, because that's ultimately the goal of this podcast, is just for someone out there to listen to what I've been talking about for the last 40 minutes. But anyways, I think now, let me think about if I had anything else to say in this podcast. This is why I need a plan. If I don't have a plan, then I just forget things that I want to talk about. So having a plan is good, but also having no plan is also good, because sometimes life just needs to take you where it's going to take you. That is my lesson of the day. Oh my gosh, I feel so influential right now. Oh my God. Anyways, yeah. That's the end of this podcast. I want to share this Squishmallow that I bought over the weekend at London Drugs. Dude, when I went to London Drugs over the weekend, they restocked all the good Squishmallows. I always go to a certain London Drugs in my area, and I always check out the Squishmallows because I know they have Squishmallows, and they always have like the bad ones. They have like the ones that are the pillow pets, basically, that you kind of hug, but they don't have like the classics. But this weekend when I went, they had so many of the big ones. They had the avocado, they had a cupcake, and they had something else. But ultimately, I really wanted to buy the avocado, but I don't have space in my room to get another huge Squishmallow. I will eventually. I just need to find one that I like genuinely really love. I want to eventually get like one Squishmallow of every size. I have a micro mallow, I have the small size and a medium size, and I just need that big one, you know? So I was gonna get the big avocado, but I wasn't ready to drop the money. It was like $60, which is kind of expensive. So I didn't get it, but I got a micro mallow this weekend, and I got Naomi, the narwhal. It's freaking so cute. She's so cute. She has a little horn. And she's like this perfect little lavender color. But anyways, okay, sorry guys, I'm getting distracted. But I just want to update you guys on my life because it's so fun. Life has been so fun recently. I've been so happy. I feel like I have genuinely been internally glowing up this summer. My confidence has been going up, just my happiness in general. I think COVID took a big toll on that, and yeah, but I feel like I'm growing out of my shell, getting a little more confident, and just a lot happier with who I am, and I feel like I don't have to impress anyone anymore. So it's been a great time. Okay, but now I'm truly done with this episode. It's been quite long, and I never really want it to be super long. Okay, I'm gonna end it for real. I will catch you in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you soon. Bye.
And I was like, yo.